Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Nightman, the series. So, a lot of people probably have never even heard of Nightman. Now, if you're as old as me, then you remember this came on in syndication back in 1997, and it lasted to 1999, and it lasted for 2 seasons. He's a superhero vigilante type person. And so, like, the thing about Nightman is originally he came from the comics. He originally came from Malibu Comics. But then Marvel purchased Malibu Comics and they brought him over. And then so they started introducing him to the Marvel Universe. Now, I don't know what they're doing with him now in terms of comics and stuff. But as you can see, one time he was hanging with or fighting with Gambit from the X-Men and stuff like that. And so his comic book counterpart is different from that of the TV show. Now, his comic book counterpart, his name is Johnny Dominic, but he later changes it to Johnny Domino, and he's a saxophone player. And I believe he gets a piece of metal shrapnel stuck in his head and in his brain and stuff, and it will give him his superpowers. Hey, comic books, you know what I'm saying? Now his powers are completely different than that in the show, because he actually has superpowers and stuff. But in the show, it's like a Batman type suit, exosuit and everything that can do all this incredible stuff. And so, like, I don't know if there was ever plans for a season 3. When it comes to this show, like, there's never been no interviews from like the stars or like the directors or writers. The creator of the show sadly passed away years ago. So nobody never knows, like, anything really about like truly what went on like behind the scenes with the special effects and why they went to Canada, but it's pretty obvious and stuff. And like, if there was ever gonna be a season 3, if there was ever gonna be like a Marvel superhero crossover or anything, or if they had plans what the villains were gonna be like in season 3, or if the suit was ever gonna change, like, we don't know. Is this the best superhero show ever? No. But it's not the worst either. And that's the thing. Sadly, this did come out in the late 90s and stuff, which means, CGI VFX just weren't all that great. So they had to go like old school, some things kind of like the live action American Spider-Man show, where it's kind of like his villains weren't really as cool as they were in the comics. They were mostly human looking villains. See, the one main, because here's the thing about the show. This show does deserve the respect it needs, but I can understand why people's all like, well, it wasn't all that great. Because here's the problems that the show had, right? One, VFX. They just couldn't really pull off the things they needed to pull off and everything like that, but it was the 90s, in the late 90s. This was before the big CGI boom and everything. And so, I can respect what they did and tried to do, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have the budget, they just didn't have the budget, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, the action scenes, there weren't that much action. Whenever there was, it'd be like in every episode, it would be very brief. A couple of punches thrown here and there, a really cool spinning back kick, but that was pretty much like his main move. And this is because of the restriction of like the suit he had to wear. And so he has let's see. He had that. Now his flying. In season 1, his flying was atrocious because of the lack of CGI and stuff. Like the wire work they used and everything, it was just atrocious. But then in season 2, they moved to Canada so they can save more money. And that money, extra money, really helped out in his flying. His flying improved greatly in season 2. Not the first episode, but after that. After that, like, his flying was It was pretty believable, kind of like how it was in, say, like the Adventures of Superboy show or something like that. You know, he was on wires, they had him on a green screen, they had the wind blowing, and it looked really cool and pretty believable. However, sometimes they would use like a CGI model and it was stiff as a board. And not only was he stiff, but his cape was stiff too. But this was very rare that they'll use a CGI figure. They normally just had him on wires and just behind the green screen and stuff. So because of the bulkiness of the suit and like the wires and everything, he couldn't really move and twist and turn as greatly as you would see other stuff. But you know, this really paved the way. They was using old school technology, which they still use today. They use technology like this to make him fly on like the Superman movies, of course him, and you know, in newer stuff like Superman and Lois, you know. And but then there was always this one time in season 2 when he would land. I don't know if it was a CGI figure or if it was like his stunt double or something, but he always like, you know, would land pretty like oddly and his face would look different. So I'm pretty sure it was either a CGI figure or his stunt double. I think his stunt double was actually his twin brother because the actor has a twin brother and stuff. Now, when it comes to the action, like I said before, you know, he'll throw like a couple of punches and this and that. Mostly when it was action, he would just like walk around kind of slow and block and throw a few punches and like, you know, or like throw like that spinning back kick and everything. And other times he will use his laser. Now, one cool feature about him is his mask. It has a laser scope in one eye that's red. So like villains who had like special powers or he had to cut through something or whatever or just blast somebody, he would use his laser. Now in season 1, the laser came out very, very, very slowly. But by season 2, it came out more quickly and stuff. Now he has super strength, but he rarely uses it in the show. He only used it one time to push a giant like Mack truck out the way and stuff. And another cool feature he had was invisibility. See, his cape, when he cloaks his entire body and wraps it in his cape, it has a cloaking feature, which is really cool. And I always love that feature on the show. He has a couple of gadgets here and there, like in his like utility belt. His utility belt also has an anti-gravitational unit that what causes him to fly. He can't fly on his own. You gotta remember, it's the suit that makes him do what he does. But his little laser scope thing also has a scanner into it. Now the suit. I love this suit to death. It is probably one of the best suits I have ever seen. And you know what? I don't care. It's better than any superhero suit you see today in say like the Arrowverse or Titans or anything like that. Because his is a full body rubber suit, like just like that of the Batman suits from the movies. In Titans, their suits are more like it's half fabric, half like leather, half like say like a vest from like motocross and stuff like that. Like I'm not even joking. Like it's like a mixture of all this stuff, and you can see the seams with the fabric and how it moves, and so it's kind of very cheap. Even Nightwing's suit is very cheap. His suit is like a very hard on rubbery plastic looking thing on the front side, but in the back it's all fabric, so he can move around and stuff. And so like this dude's suit was literally based on that of the Batman movies and stuff that was out during that time. So it does limit his movement and stuff. Now the suit is all gray. I'm pretty sure in season 1 and season 2 the color grade changed. I remember the suit being a little bit lighter in the first season, but more of a darker like Peter Smith like type like gun looking gray in the second season. It just got like a lot darker. And he has this blue cape, like a light blue cape that's light blue on the outside, but black on the inside. And, you know, his utility belt, his gloves have like these weird vein things to him. He wears like these boots. The boots I don't really like that much because they're a little too flabby. But he has boots with like these little light blue tips. Now, around the collar area, that's technically supposed to be his cape. But like it's like some kind of weird foam material that attaches itself to the cape. So it's not fabric, it's some kind of weird material. Also, that same foam material is in the shoulder blades that's like blue and stuff. And you can tell because when he moves, you can see like the foam just like moving around and stuff. But the whole suit is that of rubber. And this was around the time, like, after the last set of Batman movies came out, the like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So, they probably had like, some helping out with the costume, and that's what they were trying to like base it off of. And of course, that's like, his real hair underneath the mask. But I don't know how people didn't know that's him. He doesn't change his voice or nothing like that. But anyway, when I said people should like really respect this show, it's because like this was like one of the first superhero shows of like this era. Because tell you the truth, superhero stuff was only relegated to the movies. And so after Batman and Robin flopped and everything, people were scared to go down that like rabbit hole of like superheroes and stuff. And so they haven't really been seen on TV in like decade, like not really a decade. Whenever Superman and Lois ended, that was pretty much the last superhero show, and that was like somewhere like mid 90s and stuff, right? And so like the only superhero show that was on at that time was like Power Rangers and stuff. And of course that was like more geared to like younger people and stuff. So nobody was really making no live action superhero like television shows. Unless it was like animation, and even that was starting to slow down. But this show decided, you know what, we're gonna like after the Batman movies, they decided they're gonna do their thing and make their own show. And then next thing you know, this started paving the way for more live action superhero shows on TV. Like in 2001, we got Black Scorpion, which I still have not finished watching that yet. I remember when my family got cable again, I was flipping through and I saw Black Scorpion. I'm just like, whoa, she is hot. But I never really watched the show. And then I started watching it a couple of years ago, like the first two episodes, and I'm just kind of like, and everything like that. And so I stopped, but I'm going to finish it because I'm very curious and stuff, And so, yeah, but his show was like literally one of the first superhero shows to come back on TV and be a regular thing. Then, of course, a couple of years later, we got Smallville and everything. And now we have like the Arrowverse and like stuff on HBO Max for Titans and Doom Patrol, The Boys. We got all kind of superhero live action comic book stuff now. And the thing about Nightman, even though it only lasted for 2 seasons and wasn't like all that successful, and a lot of people don't know about it, it still did a lot of things that a lot of modern day superhero shows do. They use green screens for like a lot of stuff. They use wire work for like the flying and stuff, the accurate costumes, the like heavy dialogue in the show and little action. And so, it just sadly, it just didn't have the budget that it needed back then. And so, like, the first season was in America, like I said, and then the second one was in Canada. And that's when they was able to save a lot more money and do a lot more stuff practically and stuff. And a lot of the VFX, even though not perfect, was a whole lot better than that the first season. Now, this show was created by Gene A. Lawson. And so he's did a lot of syndicated stuff. And in fact, one of his other shows from back in the day, Manable, it crossed over for the first time ever with like another one of his properties. And they did that in the second season. Carla Pope is in that episode, who is Manable's like daughter and stuff. And so that was like really cool that they're gonna cross over. I wish they could have done with Team Knight Rider, but oh well, And so like I remember back in the day when this came on, I used to watch it and I had mixed feelings and stuff. And then so like, then of course it wasn't on the air no more. But then many years later, it started popping up on streaming sites. You can find it on Roku, Tubi, all kind of stuff now. And so I started watching this about 2 years ago, the first entire season. And then I had to stop because I had got like HBO Max and Disney Plus and Hulu and all this other stuff. So I had to finish those shows out before I could finish something that's actually free. And so in the first season, it had a lot of guest stars. Little Richard, David Hasselhoff, like, just cameoing and stuff like that. By the second season, they didn't, because a lot of those people didn't want to go to Canada. But the second season paved way for a lot of singers who got to be featured on the show in the little nightclub stuff. Now, when it comes to this show and problems that it had, well, one of the main things, like I said before, is like, like the CGI VFX and stuff. Other than that, the action was okay. It just was a little lackluster at times. Like, it didn't last as long as people would hope. Another huge problem is the villains. Because they couldn't have all these cool comic booky type villains, none of the villains ever wore like villain costumes and stuff. They just wore like regular clothes, and that was very boring. A lot of the villains, especially in season 1, are like mob type people, executive type people, so a bunch of people in business suits. But then, like, as time progressed, you'll have like aliens and demons, but they all look like humans and stuff. And so that was kind of like annoying. They had kind of like those Star Trek type aliens where their face is all human, but then they'll have like one little like jewel on top of their head or something on the side of their face and make them look like an alien. But they still wore like people clothes unless they came from an alien planet. Then they have futuristic looking clothes, always in leather and brightly colored stuff. So sadly, this show, just like with Marvel, has a villain problem. But at least with Marvel and MCU, they're allowed to wear costumes and stuff. And so a lot of his villains, their powers weren't nothing to be like, impressed by. They like, I forgot what this one dude, he had the ability to like, I think freeze time for like 60 seconds and make people do what he wants. He was never that like impressive. And so another group of the villains were like a group of like young adult like not skateboard but like rollerbladers and stuff. Maybe they were young adults. They were like rollerbladers, and their rollerblades had like motors on them, and so they wore these like goofy little costumes, and they would like steal things and things like that, and so, but there was this one cool episode where they had like these aliens, and these aliens had like some type of liquid fluid that they lace with drugs and stuff, and they'll sell it to like all the young people. So he had to stop them with that. But then there was this one villain, which was actually a pretty cool episode in season 2. He's like, it was like this regular dude who resurrected this type of demonic wizard type dude, and then he resurrected his vampire type girlfriend. But sadly, the vampire girlfriend didn't really do nothing other than just like, say she's a vampire. She didn't even like turn people. And then so when Johnny had to fight her boyfriend, he resurrected all these demonic demon things from like underground and dead people, and they had great makeup effects on them and stuff. And I still remember that one line he told him. He's all like, "I'm here to put you back in your grave." And everything. I was like, I love that line, man. Now, another problem this show really lacked was drama. There was no drama. There was really no character development. Every episode was episodic. It was like old school TV telling, and that's how a lot of comic books were, episodic and stuff. But there was no story arcs. There was no growth, no depth, no character development. I remember, like, because Johnny's dad, he's present throughout the entire first season. A retired cop who comes back in the business, and the cops don't want Nightman, doing their job. So then the second season, his father dies and everything. And he grieves over that. But then by the next episode, everything's totally fine. But then the next episode after that, like, he doesn't want to date nobody because he's sad about his dad. But then the next episode in the rest of the series, he completely forgets about it and stuff. And then they did have this one emotional scene where him and his partner was like talking through the communication system, and as he's flying through like the sky, his friend tells him, my life used to be normal. I used to just like invent stuff, but now I do this. And then he tells him, well, do you ever want to go back to your old life and everything? Do you regret like being my partner and everything? He's like, nah, and everything. But that's really the only like depth they ever had. Other than that, then there is none. So that's something the show greatly lacked, was that of emotional depth. And it's kind of like, yeah, episodic stuff is cool, but if you don't have nothing to sink your teeth into and get invested in these characters, then what's really the point, Now the intro was so sweet. Like it had two different intros for both seasons, and the music was just like phenomenal on the intro. Like you will love it. Now when the show moved to Canada, it had to do like a little bit of a shakeup with that of the cast. And so everybody from season one pretty much disappeared except for Johnny and everything. And they recast the role of his best friend, Raleigh, and everything. So like Johnny is played by Mac McComb, I think that's how you say his name is. Now he was a stunt double turned actor. And to tell you the truth, like he did a really good job and everything. Most stunt people can't act, but this dude, like he showed that he has some chops and stuff. What something I didn't know was that he's one of the agents from the second Matrix movie. Now he was supposed to appear in the fourth one, but never did. And for his sake, thank God he didn't, because that fourth movie, boy, whew. But Matt, he has a twin brother, and he plays Johnny Domino. So what happens that's different from the comic is that one, 'cause he's a jazz musician and everything, right? And so one day while doing the whole jazz thing, he's struck by lightning and stuff. So when he wakes up, this one professor type dude tells him, or a doctor type dude tells him that somehow when you got struck by that lightning, your brain became like a radio. You pick up certain frequencies, but you only pick up the frequency of evil and stuff. So he's able to see these visions. He's able to see like when bad stuff is happening. He's able to see through like bad people disguises, and stuff like that. So it really helps him out. It's kind of like a spider sense, kind of, but a little bit more advanced. Now in the second season, when the alien lady shows up, she tells him that there's a group of her alien people that come to Earth, and they choose certain people and endow them with certain like that ability. So now it might be implied that his accident was no mere accident, that the aliens probably gave it to him and stuff. And so like at some point in time, like when all this evil stuff, he starts seeing all the bad stuff happen, he wants something to do about it. And so he meets this guy named Raleigh. And so Raleigh is like his best friend, and he gives him this experimental exosuit that he's been working on for like the government and stuff. And that's the Nightman suit. So everything's like high tech in that bulletproof like suit. And when he gets hit by the bullets in the suit, it actually looked like it hurts him and everything. So that's like a great like little acting thing that they do to show that the suit's not completely invulnerable. Now, like I said before, he plays the saxophone. So whenever he's playing, it has to do his Nightman thing. In the first season, he had this little holographic feature that looked just like him, that he can control remote control. How people never knew this was like a hologram surprised the heck out of me. But this feature was gone in the second season. And so like he's pretty much just like, the one thing about Nightman and Johnny I like is that he was just this regular guy. And so when he became like endowed with superpowers, he wanted to be like a hero and everything and fight for justice. And no matter who's in trouble, this man will go out his way to save them and stuff like that. And it's just being a hero is just what this man does. He's courageous, he's brave, he's bold, you know what I'm saying? Now let me get into Johnny's car. It's a purple Prowler. My God, this car is so sweet. I remember when I saw this, I wanted this car so badly and everything. Now, sadly, this show overdoes the green screen effects. They're constantly doing it. And one thing they always do in it is with the car. It's weird. Like whenever Johnny will be driving the car, they get like up close to him, like his face, and you can see like the CGI background, and it just looks bad. And then like it just always looks bad and everything, and unbelievable. And so like that's another thing with the green screen backgrounds. They overdid it too much. When he'll be on the roof, when he'll be in the parking lot, when he'll be standing around, like they always wanted like the best shots they could get. And that's something they do nowadays with all these like modern day superhero projects. So this show really, like I said before, paved the way and everything. So Earl Holliman, he played Frank Dominus. And so he's Johnny's dad. I don't know why his last name is Dominus if Johnny's name is Domino, but whatever. In the comics, his dad was named Eddie Domino, and oh no, Domingo. And so like he was just a security guard, and he helped Nightman out all the time, but he didn't know who he was. In this show, he's a former detective, and he goes back to like help out every now and then. And so he's just this really nice, humble man and everything. And like I told you before, in the second season when they moved to Canada, he was like killed off, and which really sucked and everything. But like I said before, it gave Johnny no type of depth because they didn't really do nothing with that. Now Derek Webster, he played the first Raleigh in the first season, and he's the one who created the exosuit for Nightman. He's very smart, very savvy, a bit sarcastic, you know what I'm saying? A little bit humorous and stuff. And so, just like with the Arrowverse, he's the guy who creates everything. He's the guy tapping away at the computer, talking on like the headpiece and stuff to Nightman. But one thing that's great about this, they don't overdo it like the Arrowverse. In the Arrowverse, it's in every episode. There's so many scenes of the person with the computer tapping away, telling the hero what to do, but he doesn't do that, you know? He just every once in a while he'll do it, but he's always driving like Johnny's car, and like every once in a while he'll get like hurt by like a villain, or he'll meet like an alien like woman and stuff and try to help her. And so he was more than just a tech guy. He was really truly like Johnny's best friend and stuff. And it's funny because they never knew each other before this like accident happened. Now, Darwin Jordan, he played Raleigh in the second season. And for the most part, he still acts the same way. It's just he has a bit more of an upbeat like personality and stuff than the first one. The first one kind of had more like a serious kind of vibe to him, you know what I'm saying? And the second one had more of like a slightly like more upbeat. And like honestly, growing up, I didn't even really know that they recast the role until you look at the credits and stuff. It's kind of like the whole Bewitched Darwin thing. So Johnny performs at a nightclub called the House of Soul, and that's pretty much where all the scenes take place. And so Felicia M. Bell played Jessica Rogers, and so she was the owner there. And but like I said before, when season 2 came, they got rid of her character. They didn't even explain where she went. Like they just like got rid of her, just wrote her off. And tell you the truth, I don't remember much of anything about her. And I mean nothing at all and stuff. But it was nice to have a second person of color on the show, because once the second season happened, that all like stopped because Canada and stuff. And so Michael Woods, he played Lieutenant Charlie Dan, and he was the partner of Frank's dad. And he was also kind of like his like apprentice and stuff like that. He's a very hard-nosed cop and everything. Like he's one of those like New Yorker movie TV show type cops. He doesn't take no bull. He doesn't want Nightman like trying to do like other cops' job and stuff like that. And he kind of does like he gets along with Johnny fairly well, but not like so much like really kind of because Johnny's always trying to like investigate stuff and stuff like that, and but by the second season his character got like written out as well, and he just got completely written out. So then they brought in a new cop, a female cop played by Jane Hiltmeyer, and she was Lieutenant Bianca. I can't say her first name because they don't ever call her by her first name. Bronny or something like that. But anyway, she's the new detective in season 2. And so Bianca, it's weird. Like, here's the thing. I like the actress a lot. You know what I'm saying? I've seen her in some like other stuff. Like she was first in Sirens, a female cop show. And I remember that show back in the day in the 90s. I used to, oh my God, dude. I love Sirens so much, but I don't remember nothing about it. I don't even remember 3 female cops were the lead. I just remember all the other cops around and stuff, and the old man dying. So I like her a lot as an actress. and she has gorgeous red copper hair. But the thing is, in the show, she never acts like a cop. Like, never. Like, every time something bad happens, Johnny always shows up and she's like, "Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?" And she just lets him investigate and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, no, he's not a cop. And then one time she even has him go to like a person's house who got like attacked or something like that so he can investigate. And it's like, no, he's not a cop. And everything. Now, him and her don't really do the love thing. Thank God they didn't do that. I get so tired seeing that in shows, but they did that on one episode. They went on a date. So they tried to shoehorn that in, but it didn't work out. And so they just dropped that storyline altogether, which I'm glad. I hate when they do that in shows. But also when she didn't act like a cop, she never really dressed like a cop. Like her hair was always stylized like a model. I'm just like, cops don't wear their hair like that. They're not like supermodels and everything. But she was a cop, but she wasn't really so much like tough like the other dude from last season. But one thing she was adamant about, because this was so weird, halfway into the second season, she never mentions Nightman. Nobody ever does until some people on the street start doing it, and then she starts doing it. And then she's all like, she doesn't want vigilantes in her city. And there was this one episode where she was a rookie cop, and some guy was like obsessed with her and everything. He started stalking her when she was younger. And I think he shot her or something like that back in the day, but he was in jail. He finally got out. And so he went after her again. But it really wasn't as dramatic as you think it was, because all the drama wasn't on her. It was mostly just Nightman looking for this dude. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, like the writing in this could have been better. That's my main problem, just the writing could have been better. That should have been a big dramatic episode, and it never really was, you know? Now, one problem I had with season 2 is that because this was coming off the heels of Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, they decided that all the backgrounds and stuff was going to be very, very highly lit in neon colors and stuff. And it's kind of like, if that's what people complained about in the Batman, like Joel Schumacher movies, now why in the world are they going to try to do it for this? You know what I'm saying? So it got really irritating to constantly see these like neon like lit colors and stuff. Now, in terms of villains, there was never really no recurring villain except for one, a guy named Keys. He's this like inventor businessman who created ultra well, where it's like this internet that sucks you in the computer, and it was the first episode of the second season. I hate that episode so much. I hate all this dude episodes. This was played by Kim Coates, I think his name is. And at first, this dude could not act back in the day. He can act better now, but back then on this show, he could not act. I used to get so tired of seeing him, but he's a recurring character, and he's the one who killed Frank Domino, who's Frank's dad. So Johnny always hates when he reappears and stuff. And I'm surprised he was the only recurring villain to ever show up. Now, a few heroes do show up at least twice. There's Nightwoman, who appeared in the first season, who wears this kind of like a skin type suit that like luminesces and like looks like some type of like space star type pattern, and it moves around. And I forget what happens in the first season, but I remember I particularly did not like that episode. I forget the actress who played her, and I don't even know if she was a villain or a hero at that time in the first season. But I just remember not really liking that episode. It was kind of boring and blah. But then she reappears in the second season, played by a completely different actress. And I like that episode a lot more. I'm actually going to talk about that one individually and stuff, because I really enjoyed that episode. Then there's Black Knight. He appeared twice in the second season. He appeared in the second episode, and he's this black guy. Whenever there's like a black episode, they always have like, more black folks in it and like rap music. And Lord have mercy, they had this one episode where like it was like a black nightclub, and some alien was there, I think, and The alien actually had a pretty cool look to him and everything. He was like this bounty hunter, assassin type alien. And when he went there shooting the place up, all the black people pulled out their guns and just started shooting. I'm just like, what the world kind of depiction is that? Most of the time, if you're at a black club, yeah, sure, there's probably a few who have a gun, but mostly a knife and things like that. And so, like, he showed up in the first episode. I guess these guys were like stealing cars. I think they stole Johnny's car and stuff like that. And you know, he takes, I think, like orders from like this one cop. But then his second appearance, that cop turned out to be dirty and all this other stuff. And him and Nightman helped take him down. His suit is very low grade. It's just like fabric, like stretchy fabric, and a black like mask, and like he does this weird thing where he'll press like a button on his suit and all of a sudden this like spiraling green aura comes out and everything. And so I'm not really sure what his powers are supposed to be. I wish they could have gave him a better suit like Nightman or say Nightwoman and stuff. Now, there's this one episode where Raleigh's like driving and then all of a sudden this alien shows up and she gets hit by his car, and she's very tall. I forget the actress who plays her, but she was in Beastmaster, the TV show. And so like when she's there, she tells him like, oh, I'm on a mission, blah, blah, doing this. And she takes a liking to Raleigh a lot. And so like, and this episode is the one where the aliens like mixed their like alien fluid stuff and like the drugs, and then there was like this cult and they were trying to like take people, and Nightman and like the cop lady had to like stop them and stuff. And then she reappeared a second time in Scent of a Woman, where she brings this bug princess. The princess lady is just a regular princess, but she has a real like bug like form and everything. Like she looks human, but in her bug form, it's like a praying mantis. And so she's supposed to protect her and keep her from that alien bounty hunter dude I told you about, with the black people shot up that nightclub and stuff. And so like she's still taking a liking to Raleigh, and she wants to try out this whole kissing thing, and so she does it on him. And then the one lady shows up who's actually a woman he's hooking up with. So he had a girlfriend and was messing around with the hot alien lady and stuff. Now, because this is the late 90s and everything, every time there's a female in the show, sometimes she is a little sexually exploited. The short mini skirts, always damsel in distress, more short mini skirts and everything, and a lot of cleavage, because that's just how it was back in like the late 90s and stuff. And so, but the female cop lady, she never did that. She always wore like professional clothes and stuff like that. But sadly, because it was those times and how they treated women and stuff, there was this one time where somehow Raleigh then became the owner of the nightclub when that one lady left. And so I think the appraiser or something like that, or the inspector, is supposed to come and check the place out. And it's a woman, and for some reason she's a very horny woman, and all of a sudden she just wants Raleigh to like do her. And so at the end of the episode, we see them coming back with the walk of shame and everything, and it was just kind of like, really, that's what you do, your female characters? But it was the 90s. This is why a lot of TV modern day stuff has changed for more women empowerment and stuff, is because of stuff like that. Now, there's this one episode where Johnny is trying to rescue a woman with fire powers. She doesn't remember who she is or what's going on, but she's being chased by these like scientist type people. And so he really wants to help her out, even to the point where she almost attacks him by mistake. So at some point she gets captured by these scientist people, and he rescues her to get her out of the facility. And then he's face to face with the scientist who's been experimenting on her. She's some type of fire starter. And so they do the whole spiel about, I want to experiment, blah, 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 and she's mine and stuff like that. But he rescues her anyway, and he goes out to an open field because she's about to go nova and everything. So she can unleash her power. The military people show back up, but then their plane like their helicopter crash lands. Now this is the part that's confusing. Is she a human experiment with fire powers, or is she some type of cosmic alien being? Because she turns into like a glowing ball of light and she goes off into outer space. It's never really explained, but this show does deal with aliens at times. Now, there is an episode, I completely forget about what the premise is about, but Johnny, towards the end, crashes like a Halloween party, and there he's face to face with Spider Man. Now, the question is, since Nightman used to be Malibu Comics and then went over to Marvel, it makes you wonder, is this the real Spider Man, or is it just a guy in a Halloween costume? Pretty interesting way to think about it. And so Keys is a recurring like villain. Like he's always showing up to mess things up for Nightman. He killed Johnny's father. He I think he destroyed the House of Soul and everything. He even like framed Johnny for like assault and kidnapped like Raleigh and everything in the last episode. And it's just like, I just wish to God they could have came up with a better villain or at least have like a suit. He's kind of like, think of like, say, Lex Luthor. That's kind of like how his character is. Just very, very, very comedic and stuff. And that just drives me nuts when there's that much comedy in one character. And it's so much overacting. That's why I thought he was just a bad actor because I didn't like him back then and stuff. But the show did last for 2 seasons, 44 episodes total. And, like I said before, it's an okay show. Like, it's not terrible by no means, but it's not, like, great. But you have to, like, respect it for what they tried to do and the budget that they had and, how times were back in the late 90s and stuff. And it did pave the way for a lot more superhero type stuff. And, like I said before, is it the best superhero show out there? Nah. But, at least what it did was that it did what a lot of comic books did back in those days. It told episodic type episodes. I wish it could have been more dramatic, but I thank God it wasn't like the Arrowverse where it's too over dramatic, you know what I'm saying? But it would have been nice to have like a little more drama. It would have been nice to have some more action. And if they didn't have that much action, then I wish that the dialogue was more edgy to keep you more like engaged. But you should like check it out, especially check out like season 2. It's a bit more better and everything than season 1. Like I remember in season 1 there's an episode where they found the DNA of Bonnie and Clyde. And they resurrected them. So of course Clyde, he's doing his thing, gangster stuff, and Bonnie's just kind of like taking in the sights, and she's kind of being disrespected by Clyde, and so and she's played by Kristen Warren, I think her name is. It was an actress I like a lot. And so it was cool seeing her in the show and stuff like that. And I couldn't believe all the cameos they had in season 1. Like it was just like insane and stuff. And so but season 1 is kind of like a little bit lackluster a bit, especially with the villains they had in season 1, the dialogue, the action, the CGI. But things do pick up slightly better in like season 2. It's sad that this has been forgotten. It did come out on DVD finally, after so many years, over 20 something years, they finally put it on DVD. Not sure if they still have any or not. Like I said, you can watch it for free on all these streaming sites and everything. And it's just, and I wish Marvel would like do something with this character in live action, because I mean, seriously, man, with the technology and the storylines they have today, like it would be so great. Because tell you the truth, a lot of these modern day superhero crap, I don't like them. I don't like pretty much none of the Disney Plus Marvel shows at all. And I mean at all. Falcon and Winter Soldier was okay. I thought WandaVision was like hilarious. I just like seeing Haley Steinfeld and everything, but I did not like Hawkeye at all. And I did not like Miss Marvel or none of that stuff. And when it comes to that of the DC stuff, like I like the action, I like the stars and everything. It's just the shows are like they make no sense. And they're so dark and gritty and violent with no like anything to blend that out, and the storylines are so like, what the world are y'all talking about? And so, even though this show isn't perfect, like I said before, I can respect the crap out of it. And I can appreciate it a whole lot more than a lot of this modern stuff that they have right now. But is it better than, say, Arrow season 1? Nah. Flash season 1? Nah. Supergirl season 1? Nah. But, like, after a while, even when those Arrowverse shows started to suck, Nightman was still pretty more decent. And like I said before, like, the CGI is better in those Arrowverse shows and this and that, but those Arrowverse shows just got weird, man. They just got weird and stuff to where I had to tap out. And even though Nightman is somewhat lackluster, at least it'll keep you a little more engaged in that Arrowverse stuff. It just needs better CGI and storytelling and stuff. And that's why I wish Marvel would bring it back. Bring it back. Give it some edge. Give it some better CGI. Keep the suit. Do not replace that suit whatsoever. Find that suit. You know what I'm saying? And like just make a really good superhero type show. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.